Hello and welcome to Start to Scale. This podcast is for entrepreneurs that want to transform their business ideas into reality. And every week, I will be interviewing some great entrepreneurs who have delivered amazing results in their industry. And today, we have Rohan Chaubey with us, who will be sharing some growth tactics, how business owners and SaaS, software as a service business owners can scale their business. Just to introduce Rohan, he is one of the founding members of Growth Hacking Day. Also, he is one of the best-seller authors of two growth hacking books on Amazon, and he is also delivering growth strategies to renowned brands like Zoho, Upgrad, UNESCO, and Uber. So, tell me something about your journey, Rohan. How did you get started in growth hacking? Tell us something about your journey.
Sure. So when I was 16, I was pursuing diploma in computer engineering, and one of my friends told me, why don't we start a blog where we teach our classmates how to learn programming? He was good with codes and I was good with written content. So he would write the codes and I would explain them on my blog. We had two separate blogs and we used to link to each other. And then eventually he stopped blogging, but I pursued. So I started blogging when I was 16. And at 18, I got my first domain. I've been working with a lot of great organizations and startups, helping them with growth marketing. So actually, the hobby blogging turned into marketing, and then marketing turned into growth marketing. That's the story in very short.
Great. So how do you define growth hacking term and how it has evolved over the years?
Okay, so I think there's no fixed definition to growth hacking, really. You can define it the way you want. My definition of it is simply running high tempo growth marketing experiments, using data to determine which experiments are a success or a failure, and how you can optimize and build resilience to failure. Other than that, I would also say that it's a combination of marketing, technology, and product side of things. So you are, as a growth hacker, operating at the intersection of these three. That's how I would simply put it. How it has evolved over the years. I think over the years, what has happened is tools have got more democratized. That means, let's say if 2 to 3 years back, or let's say 4 years, 5 years ago, if the people with really good engineering skills had upper hand in marketing, now that is changing because everyone has access to the same tools. Everyone can automate anything right now, right? And with AI coming in as well, it has given an equal opportunity for all. So I think now even the regular digital marketing would start to look like growth marketing because of so many tools, automation, data, right? People have more data than ever before, right? Now the thing is that even if you have the data, how you're going to use that data to market the right way, right? So that's the question. So now it has come down to being creative, being consistent, having ability to take a novel approach than what has been traditionally already done. I think the marketing, the more innocent you keep it, the more effective it becomes. If people try
100%.
to be very gimmicky or smart, people can see through it and realize that it's marketing. So the best form of marketing now would be the marketing that does not feel like marketing.
Yeah, correct. 100% agree on that. So just to a short definition of growth hacking is to just hack, like our podcast name is Start to Scale, a journey where a business starts and they have a vision to scale to a lot of customers. To hack that journey, to make it possible early. So that is quite the techniques, the tricks, the methods you use to just shorten that period of scaling is the growth hacking.
Right. So taking some unconventional, novel path to growth using minimum time, money, and resources in terms of people or team.
Right. Great. And what are the most common myths you have come across regarding growth hacking and how do you address them?
So once in a while, I would get accused of breaking or hacking, some platforms. Like the biggest misunderstanding that had happened to me was I was a Reddit moderator. and I was accused by the Reddit team themselves of breaking Reddit. Like, how can I break Reddit? So there is a negative connotation to the term hacking, right? But what we really mean is that, finding unconventional way of doing things is hacking here. It does not mean the negative connotation of really hacking into systems or people's privacy or whatever. So that's one of the myths for sure. The second myth is that a lot of founders think that growth hacking is like overnight success. And there is some silver bullet that I have that can just solve all their growth problems. But it really is a very systematic, data-driven approach to growth.
Yeah.
I feel it's more of like hyper experimentation, and maybe, let's say out of 10, 9 things wouldn't work, but that one thing which would work would eventually be the holy grail of your product growth, right? So that's what people need to realize. How the kind of, like, some of the prospects that I come across are more from the standpoint that growth hacking has to get me like quick, fast results and cheap. Of course it can, but then you have to have that experimentation phase before you can actually reach the top of the mountain, right?
Yeah, you need to trust the process.
Yeah.
Every marketing strategy has a process. I totally relate with that. I face that a lot. Like I am a performance marketer. I help scale e-commerce brand through strategic media buying. But some, like, on regular basis, I face we have spent this much on this day and we haven't got that much return. So you need to believe, understand there is a particular funnel we need to make, and customer does not buy from the first time they see an ad. It has a funnel to convert, and that. So that if you have understanding of that, growth marketing, performance marketing do magics for your business. And next, moving on to next questions, like college graduates and maybe on later stage, if someone wants to learn more about this growth hacking, they want to start their career in growth hacking, what process do you suggest? What they should focus on? What is like the thing they should follow to be an expert on this growth hacking?
So unlike other professions, there is no set curriculum to what you need to learn to get to become a growth hacker, right? So the one that I have done for myself was just being curious. So I would read every single blog post that I could find on growth hacking. I would watch every single video that I could find on growth hacking. I would read every single book that was written ever on growth hacking, listening to podcasts, listening to all these trend and industry reports that come out, finding case studies of how big brands that are now were when they first started, right? So I think it's about studying as much as you can and then drawing your conclusions and learnings from it, and then taking those learnings and actually applying at your job is how someone would become a growth hacker. The second way could be that to work with someone who has been there and done that so they can follow the footsteps of the person, right? And the third would be to start something of your own. So maybe it could be as simple as starting your own blog or your own YouTube channel or your own startup, right? Or maybe create an imaginary startup, become an indie hacker, create a simple product or info product and try to get customers for yourself, build an audience for yourself, build distribution channels for yourself. So in the process, you will discover different ways to do it, and then you would learn, and then you can go and implement it for others as well. So the reason I'm focusing more on implementation is because that's how you would actually learn, right? Rather than taking a course or consuming a course passively, I would suggest read books and watch videos and read case studies and blog posts and take the learnings and implement them. Work with someone who has been there and done that. And then the third one was that you build your own startup, or maybe let's say become an indie maker, and then try to grow your own product. So during the process, you would learn and, grow. So that would be my suggestion for anyone who is starting out right now.
Great answers. I would also recommend, if you are fascinated with any brand or company that you look forward to, I would suggest just communicate with their hiring team, try to share your ideas with them. Like if you have a mentor with you, then definitely you can avoid a lot of problems in your career, and it will be it can give you a right direction to, and with that you can, of course, you don't need to stuck with that specific one person. You need to learn more from the reading books, courses, blogs, and discuss the ideas with them so that you can evolve with time. Otherwise you will be just doing a list of things repeatedly. So great. And how you have also mentioned a term growth set in your book. So tell us something about that.
A lot of people were saying that growth marketers are T-shaped marketers, right? And I do not agree to it, because T-shaped marketer, like the word T-shape, right, was first used with consulting companies perhaps 40 years ago.
Okay.
And the reason it was said T-shaped is because there would be one skill that you're really good at, and then there would be a combination of skills that you somewhat know, right? You're not an expert, but you know.
Correct.
What I realized is a lot of people who say they are T-shaped are actually selling themselves short. The reason is, let's say if you are a performance marketer, at the same time you also understand somewhat social media marketing. Else, how would you run ads on social media, right? You also understand user behavior in psychology. You also understand full funnel marketing. Otherwise, how would you run ads and then get people into the funnel and get them to the bottom of the funnel, right? So all I'm trying to tell you is that you are not just a performance marketer, and you wouldn't call yourself T-shaped because of that. You are beyond that, right? And that's the reason I say you're not T-shaped, because you're not just having that one skill. You're having those all complementary skills, even better than maybe each other, right? So the graph doesn't look like T-shaped, and it needs reformation. And that's why I coined this term growth set, which could actually accurately define growth marketers. There are also other shapes that are used in recruitment. It's called, have you seen pie shape, and then gamma and all that?
Correct.
So those letters are also taken in recruitment in consulting companies, and they used to define that, okay, we are looking for gamma shaped people and pie shaped or whatever, right? So T-shaped was one of it. And all these other letters were actually hidden from people, and people started to believe, okay, T-shape is a thing, and it actually is still quite popular. Like I see very credible people, very senior people using it, and I don't believe that there is any reason to use it. They are far more experienced than T-shaped. So I call it, like, the way you can define your skill is growth set. So growth set is the most accurate representation of what you do. To give you an example, let's say if someone is a growth marketer, they would say, my skill sets are content marketing, copywriting, content writing, team management, psychology, user behavior, and then I can also do some design part of it. I can do some UX. I can do conversion rate optimization. So all these are your skills, right?
Correct.
The second one is tool set. So the tool set is essentially, like I was sharing with you, that now every tool is accessible to every other person, right? Everyone is operating at the same scale. Nobody has an upper hand or advantage, because all the technology is in the hands of everyone, right? It's democratized.
Yeah.
So you define your tool set so that your client, your potential employer, can understand where you're coming from. So let's say if you're running ads, right? So you would be having tons of tools as well for ads, other than the native platforms, right? So you would define that so that the employer can know, like, what is your level of experience? How are you going to manage analytics and tracking and attribution and everything else? That's your tool set. So skill set, tool set. Now the third one is the mindset. So it is a combination of soft skills plus skills like iteration. Look at it this way. If I was a growth marketer, right, and if I had to relate it to something that's like not really about marketing but beyond it, like my personality trait, right? So I would have a growth mindset. If you've read book Mindset, she shares about having two mindsets. One is fixed mindset, the other one is growth, right? Fixed mindset believes that my skills are limited and I cannot acquire new skills or personality or traits. Growth mindset would be like they would try to overcome whatever it is. Let's say if one of my experiments fail, I wouldn't consider failure of my marketing career. I would rather say just this experiment failed and I have other 99 things to try, right? So having growth mindset, I would say I would count that into the mindset bucket. So essentially what I'm trying to say is even being agile with your approach, like willingness to change strategy and change approach every now and then should be okay. You can't be rigid like a enterprise company, especially when you're operating a startup. So all this I would categorize in, within mindset. So hence the representation of growth set. So growth set equals to skill set plus mindset plus tool set.
Great. Marketing is all about test and learn. So anyways, it's a part of process and we need to understand as a marketer and as a business or entrepreneur, we need to have an understanding of that. Some growth hacks might not work for any specific business, might work great for any other. So we need to test and run so that we can have a exponential growth for our businesses. Great. And how do you stay up to date with all the trends and techniques in this industry? And what are some important resources you recommend to others who want to learn this field?
A very important resource. For the last 7 years, I've been running a community called Invincible Winners, and a part of it, so Invincible Winners is like the community, and then within it we have several different communities for different purposes, for content marketers, for marketers and indie hackers, etc. So one of the communities is Invincible Growth Marketers, where we share all the latest and greatest news about growth marketing. I also run a Reddit subreddit called r/growth hacking. I inherited it from Ryan Holiday. He gave it to me when it had 13,000 members, and I've grown it to 33,000 members. And I share all the latest news in marketing, all the new trends, all the new tactics that we find, all the new case studies of startups that are growing fast. Everything is discussed there. So there cannot be anything greater than this community. Having peers suggest you what's new and then getting to learn or discuss with them, I think is invaluable. A lot of people would actually have these masterminds and membership sites just to get access to these and conversations. We keep it all free for all. Some of our contributions come from people who are having $1 billion exits. All kinds of startups are a part of it and contributing daily. So these two communities would be like my top of my recommendations. One is r/growth hacking on Reddit. And there is this WhatsApp group that we run. It's called Invincible Growth Masters.
That's phenomenal. Thanks a lot for sharing that community with us. Any specific podcast or book you want to suggest for this specific industry who wants to learn?
I would
say bestsellers.
I would say pick up my book. I've written the Growth Hacking Book 1, the Growth Hacking Book 2. Along with me, there are marketers from 20 countries who have contributed to it, some of them being people like Noah Kagan from AppSumo. So this is the one book I would recommend. Other than that, what else do you mention? Podcast and stuff like that, right? So if you just go to YouTube and search Rohan Chaubey, there have been a lot of videos I've done for other channels other than mine. So those videos would be valuable, like the one that we are shooting right now.
Great. Perfect. And how do you prioritize growth opportunities for any business? What factors you consider when deciding for this business I am going to test this growth hack? Is there a checklist, or how do you decide that?
There are various factors, but I'll explain you some. When a startup comes in, we ask them to learn more about their audiences, the customers. and their own product. Like, are you sure that all the use cases of the product are good? There have been many instances where you would build a product and you would find that users are using the product for altogether a different use case than
Correct.
what you made it for, right? So
Right, right.
exploring those use cases, exploring the user personas would actually help you determine and map the user personas on different channels. So once you know the channels, then you can get in deeper into channels to understanding how do we get in front of these audiences, what tactics would get us there. So a lot of people start thinking the reverse. They first think of all the tactics, and this also brings me to the point that a lot of agencies have these menu card approach. So they already will tell you, we do this, we do that, and if you
Yeah.
would want that. But this is not how businesses are built, right? You first need to
Correct.
understand who their audience is, where they are hanging out, what the product does, and how can you get those users to the product. Then you propose what has to be done. So
Of course.
agencies are like the reverse of the process, but then times are changing and people are getting educated. So hopefully that will change.
Perfect, perfect. And can you share some of the examples of successful growth strategies you have applied, and what are the key strategies and tactics in that?
Ryan Holiday gave me this r/growth hacking subreddit. It had about 1,000 people in 9 years. I took from him, and in 2 years, I grew it from 13 to 33. So what Ryan did in 9 years, I did it in 2 years, like double of it almost.
Yeah.
So what happened differently? So my approach was trying many different things, but then I figured out, okay, what is one lever that really, outdid all the other strategies? It was very specific to Reddit. Let me help you understand. So Reddit has two ways to message people. One is called the messenger and the other one is called private mails on Reddit. So I sent private mails to about 100,000 people on Reddit for free.
Okay.
And for a reach like this, anyone would actually pay to Reddit ads, right? I thought that I want to kind of bootstrap my community. It was still costly for me to run this, but at least the results are guaranteed. If I had run ads, I don't know if people would convert or not. There are a lot of variables playing into it. So Reddit saw this and they deplatformed me from the platform, saying that I broke their platform because, of course, it was against the monetization policies, right? Like they would rather want me to run ads versus reaching out to 100,000 people. And they thought that it was impossible for someone to do that until someone did that, right? So that's one of the things. And of course, after they removed me, they faced a lot of backlash and they had to put me back on the platform, and I still own the community now. They could not remove me, but I've stopped doing what I was doing.
Yeah,
but
that's
it
how
worked,
we discovered the boundaries of marketing and hacks.
But we did it, right? Like the people are already there in the community now. I was working with this app called Koo. It was Twitter's competitor in India, and to them I did this creative outreach that, because it was a platform that supported regional languages, right? So I did outreach in regional languages. So to Tamil people, I'll send something in Tamil. To Hindi people, I'll send something in Hindi. And people were very happy. Like they would say, you're talking in our mother tongue, right? So they would rather not get annoyed by the outreach and sign up to the platform. And we would empower them, saying that this is the only social media platform in India who gives you your voice and freedom to say it in your mother tongue. It worked great. The campaign was almost receiving 70-80% response rates for outreach because we were speaking their mother tongue. So these are some creative things that I've done and have got good results.
Amazing. That is a great growth hack. Rohan, moving on to next questions. How do you measure your growth hacks? Is there any specific tools you use for deciding and measuring your growth hacks? How effective it was?
Most of the times I'm the person who would want to have very lean analytics. I would let the team measure whatever they want, but I would tell them that, okay, tell me one thing that you want me to grow in your startup, right? So some people would say, I want 100,000 customers, paying customers. Some people would say, I want, let's say if there was this startup where it was a video editing tool. Their North Star metric was X number of videos created daily. So if I say 1 million videos edited daily, right? What does that mean? Number one, that means people are actually using the platform. Retention is good. Number two is, for you to support that scale, you should also have enough users to do it, right?
Correct.
So
correct.
the second thing is it covers the acquisition part, right? The third is, if so many people are using, of course, you will have revenue out of it if people are extensively using your tool. So that covers the revenue. So what I'm trying to say is a North Star metric has to be a metric that protects the interest of the users and the maker, right? So if it is my product, I need to make money, I need to keep people retained, I need to have users, that should be covered. And to the users, the product should provide the value they asked for. That is the true value of North Star metric, right? So as a growth hacker, I would just force our founders to think of one value that brings value, not just to themselves, because a lot of people in business would be selfish and they just want to care about their revenues. But at the same time, we want our users to benefit as well so that we can retain them and have recurring revenue. So that's how I would suggest finding a North Star metric and then sticking to it. And one more thing, when it comes to measuring performance of growth experiments, think of it in a way that truly impacts the bottom line. For example, when people used to do social media marketing back in the days, right? They would show in the reports that, okay, these many likes, followers, and things happened, right? But now we have started to not care less about the followers and more about the followers to engagement ratio.
Correct.
If your ratio doesn't exist well, there's no point adding more followers unless you get the followers activated to engage.
100%.
Similarly, when people used to build communities, they would say my community has so many members and we are 100,000, a million or whatever. Again, it comes down to meaningful conversations that happen in the community. So if there are no meaningful discussions happening, it's no longer a community. And the last one is when running marketing experiments, a lot of people would run ads and show clicks and all kinds of confusing metrics, right? But when you really ask them, how many people did you really move down the funnel? Then there would be a big question mark on the report. So
Correct.
I think people are realizing that these fluff reports do not work anymore. It's the North Star that would matter at the end of the day.
Correct.
And
what is the end result? Like,
Yes.
I don't want any clicks or add to carts.
yeah, end result
is-
and qualitative result, right? So it just
Correct.
it doesn't have to be quantitative, like number of community members, number of clicks, or number of followers. The qualitative result would be meaningful discussions in community. You know, the average order value of your maybe e-commerce store, right? Or maybe on social media, it would be more engagement and virality or whatever.
Correct. 100%. And how important is automation in growth hacking, according to you?
I think now there is more automation than ever. Like even if I send a simple message to people on LinkedIn, they would be like, did you automate it? Like people who are at the receiving end would ask you, is it automated? And you have to say, no, it is not. Like, so now are the days when you have to actually prove your humanity. While coming on this podcast, you and I having a conversation or discussion, we are proving our humanity by being on a video like this. Imagine we doing a text interview or posting this on LinkedIn. You never know. It could be just ChatGPT writing my answers. So running maybe webinars for your startup. Like I know a lot of SaaS businesses that now has started to run webinars because it's easier to sell on webinar versus sales call. So that's the difference we are seeing in the age of AI and automation, how you can humanize. So while I understand automation is really useful, but I would keep it to the point that it only takes away the grunt work out of our work, right? What we are really trying to do while we are touching the customers, the prospects, is trying to show more human side of us. And that's what would matter to close the deal, right? The rest, everything else can be automated.
By the way, I had this doubt, like, how can Rohan be present on this much social media channels? And it was a frequent reply. But I really appreciate the kind of person you are, so kind, and beside all this great things you are doing in entrepreneurship, business growth and all, I really appreciate the kind of character and personality you have.
Thank you so much. I've been accused of all sorts of things, that I run
Yeah.
chatbots and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah, but soon when I gone through that chat, our chat, the communication, that's not possible. ChatGPT is not that advanced till now.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Help us understand the SaaS. I think you are expertise in scaling SaaS business, software as a service. So help us understand what is basically SaaS and what are the some like most effective growth hacking strategies that can be applied to this niche.
Sure. While we are discussing SaaS in particular, but I've also worked with, all kinds of products, whether it be desktop apps, mobile apps, web apps. And then I told you I've working with some social media sites as well, a competitor of Clubhouse, a competitor of Twitter. I had an offer from Quora as well. Other
Wow.
than this, I've also had service side of businesses, so agencies, coaches, consultants, public figures, and all of that. But staying very specific to SaaS, I think if a SaaS, let's assume that a SaaS is an early stage startup and they're looking to get their first 1,000 users or customers. So I would go about 5 strategies. Number 1 would be launching it on a site where you can get early adopters. It could be something like Product Hunt, right?
AppSumo and all.
I would go with Product Hunt first, and then I'll go to
Okay.
marketplaces, which is AppSumo and similar sites. The good thing with Product Hunt is one of our clients recently got about, 1,500 users in about a week launching on
Wow.
Product Hunt. They also got 50 odd customers in the first week, and their biggest enterprise client came after launching on Product Hunt. They also had an investor reaching out to them. So I
Wow.
would say Product Hunt has the number 1 platform for early stage startups. The second one would be marketplaces, like you mentioned, AppSumo or anything similar. And only do marketplaces if you're willing to do an LTD or an annual deal, because if your product cannot support a lifetime deal and if your operating costs are too high, then there is a risk to do LTD deals. So if your operational costs are less, then a lifetime deal makes sense. The third would be building a community of people who are your prospects, and then soft selling, like not going too hard on them, just plugging the product when it's really necessary. And the fourth one would be webinars. Like I was telling you that it's pretty hard to sell people on a demo call or a sales call. Webinars would be more interesting. So I was running a webinar for a company called Clean Mail, and they had sales live on the call where we were just discussing educational part. Like we did not even make the pitch, and the people went to the brand site and they already started to buy. That's the beauty of webinar. And if you really provide value on webinar and make it really interesting, people are going to follow you through, right? So you can direct the same people into your community, right? And they would then become loyal followers forever. So that's the fourth one. The fifth one, I would say some form of outbound outreach based on social listening and on in-market leads. So in-market leads would be the leads that are actively looking for a solution like yours. And you would find them through social listening. So for example, if someone on Twitter says that I'm looking for a CRM that can have AI predict or do lead scoring, if you are a CRM product, you would reach out to them because they mentioned that they're looking for a CRM. So that kind of outreach, I think, is very targeted, hyper-focused on in-market leads.
Yeah, 100%. Agree. What are the some biggest challenges growth marketers face today, and how do you recommend to address them?
So I think the biggest challenge of our times now is platforms taking away your ability to market, right? So for example, on Twitter, let's say, they rolled out some paid verification and it offers reach. On Facebook, they rolled out some verification. It offers visibility. So it has now, everything has started to come down to paid, and it's starting to seem like, okay, the only form of marketing left would be paid marketing, right? But then there would always be marketers like us. Like I was giving you an example of that Reddit thing that I did, reach 100,000 people without paying for any ads. So there would always be people who would be outliers, but then that's not for masses. That's not what everyone would do. So I think owning the distribution right now is the biggest thing, because platforms, we have realized, will backstab us. When Facebook first started, they said it will be free forever. And only in the recent times, they removed that from their homepage or wherever it was written, and it's not free forever. So we know that platforms are going to backstab. So the only thing that you can count on is your own audience, your own distribution. How can you stop growing your own Instagram and focus on growing your own community is the name of the game now. Like few years back, we used to get clients saying that I want to grow my Twitter, I want to grow my Instagram and all of that, right? Now we get clients saying I want to grow my community. That's the change. That people no longer want to invest time on platforms that have no guarantee. You can't count on these platforms anymore, but that does not mean that you would not grow them. But your priority should be your own platforms, your own newsletter, your own community. And the second priority would be the social media.
Right. Community is what adds value to and it is always impactful.
Exactly. And nobody's stopping you from reaching your community, right? So your reach on Instagram can get cut, and only maybe 10% of the people are watching you from your total number of followers. But on a community, let's say on WhatsApp group or Slack group or Telegram or Discord, people are going to receive your messages regardless of any algorithm change, right? Now, Facebook group, I'm unsure of, because it's again based on feeds, but at least the messenger communities are safeguarded. And the best thing would be not even hosting a community on these messenger platforms, because you don't know when they would start charging subscription. So you would rather want to also do it on your some private space where only you and your community exists.
Yeah, it's a great way, like own your audience. You need to have a control about that kind of engagement and connect. We cannot be dependent on free social media and platforms. Like end of the day, they are also here to make business, and whatever favors them, they will apply. They will not think about,
even if being deceitful by promising to be free and then later charging users.
Yeah, correct. So, Rohan, what advice you will give to entrepreneurs and startups, those who want to start their business, like those who want to grow their business through growth hacking, and what kind of mistakes they should avoid?
I think the biggest advice that I can offer right now is not trying to be like anybody else. Reinvent your industry, not majorly, but a little bit, right? So that you stand out. And one advice would be, learn from people who have been there and done that. Collaborate with people who are at the same stage as you, and help your community or people in your industry to learn if they are newbies, right? Because if you're entering new, someone might have helped you as well. So that's something that I follow for myself, and I would recommend that for others as well.
Amazing. So one last question, Rohan. So if you had a chance to redesign your career and life,
okay,
what mistakes how would it look like, and what kind of mistakes you will be avoiding, and what actions you will be prioritizing?
I think I'm a person who's not very ambitious. I operate, I just want to give. I'm a giver. I have to learn to take as well. I would have monetized my skills a little earlier. I waited for really long before doing it. So that's one change I would do it. But except for the monetization part, just generally as well, I'm not as ambitious as I find other people to be. Some of it I could attribute to reading books like these.
Wow, amazing. I appreciate
So,
it.
so maybe that's one of the effects that I've had, but I'm happy and content really with what I have.
Great, great. So much learnings we can have from you, Rohan. Beside all this mindset you have on business, the learnings, insights on this industry, I am like really inspired from the kind of character and personality you have built.
Thank
Like
you.
you have more almost a decade of experience in this industry. Still, you are always available to help. I have met Piyush Kukreja also, so he also is a big fan of your. He
He's a very
really,
dear friend, yes.
yeah, he really appreciate the kind of personality you have.
Thank
It's
you.
really inspiring for me to have a chat with you and learn from you.
I'm glad we had this chat.
It's my pleasure. And before we wrap up this podcast, I have some rapid fire questions so
Sure.
that beside all this learnings we had on this business and mindset, we want to know the personality, the inner you, the Rohan Chaubey, what he prefers, what he chooses, what he likes and all. So we will start with what what do you suggest, like bootstrapping a business or they opt for a funding initially?
I would say always, always, always use your own money if possible. Bootstrap it as much as you can. And only if your business model is of a way that it requires funds, then I would raise funding. Else, I would always bootstrap.
Great, great. And what book do you enjoy every time you read that book? Is there any
I
specific?
enjoy reading Gita because I think that's the greatest self-help book that I've ever read. There are so many things to even take away for business folks like us. And
Yeah,
I mean, I get goosebumps saying this, that there is so much to learn from it. So it's one book that I would enjoy any day.
same here, Rohan. Perfect. Your favorite hobby? Anything you
My
enjoy
favorite
doing?
hobby is
Yeah.
writing. I write a lot. So I was actually a writer. I was a blogger. And that's the reason I became a marketer and growth marketer. But my real skill set was writing. So I really like writing. And in my free time, I write stuff that I would never even publish. Like I just do it for fun.
Like what kind of writing? You can just
My
give an
own
overview.
thoughts, sometimes it would be like, some days I would wake up from sleep and I would get random thoughts about life. I would get random thoughts about business in shower, and then I would come out and keep writing it on my whiteboard. So I would just write things for myself and I would enjoy that. Some of it, gets into my book, some of it gets into my community, but most of it I just keep it for myself.
Yeah, I understand. I can 100% relate to that. So, Rohan, what is your like favorite food or dish you prefer? Like just no matter what the time is, I am ready to have it.
There is this thing in Mumbai, pav bhaji, right? I really like it.
Amazing, amazing. What is the best advice you have ever received in your life? What is that one advice?
I actually received this advice from someone. And when I say this, even the lights flicker. It's something that I told you already, that learn from people who have been there and done that. Collaborate with people who are at same stage as you. And support people who are the newcomers, right? In any industry, whether it be digital marketing, whether it be Bollywood, Hollywood, or anything, right? If people just do this, the world would be a better place.
100%.
And
And
that's the reason when you were saying that I would talk and help anybody else, is because I would think of me. Like if I was in their position maybe 10 years ago, how would I look at people who would help me, or what be
yeah,
the degree of respect I would have for them? And thinking that, I would just, be willing to support anyone I come across.
yes, that's so nice of you. I really appreciate Rohan for that.
Thank you.
So, last rapid fire, like what is your bucket list you haven't done yet? Anything you have in your mind you are planning?
So, okay, this is something that I wanted to always share, but I've never shared. I
Okay.
wanted to do a movie, and essentially a documentary on growth hacking, because a lot of people have told about things about growth hacking from the Silicon Valley's perspective, right? And in India, we founded the growth hacking book series and invited people from 20 countries because we wanted to put India on the map of the world. It was an India-led movement that launched this book, made it to a world record, got people from 20 countries to acknowledge us. The government of India acknowledged the Growth Hacking Day and endorsed the book. So my other attempt is to do a documentary on growth hacking and say it from the perspective of India, because not a lot of growth stories have been told of, Indian startups. Think of the Zohos of the world, or even some small startup that would have done incredibly great. So I don't mean to just feature Indian startups. It would be, of course, a global documentary, but written and shot from the Indian perspective.
Wow, that's phenomenal. It's so mesmerizing to me that you have this kind of goals. Like in general, what we have, I think you are 25
I
now.
am.
Yeah, at this age, generally youth wants to enjoy, party hard, do different kinds of things. But you as a person, you are so focused on your career, you are so focused on adding value to society from this age. So how do you manage all this? How do you keep a balance upon why there are very less or no distraction for you? How do you manage all this as a...
I think there's no real answer to it. It's just who I am. But I think my spiritual practice really keeps me grounded and gives me energy to pursue things and get anything that I want. So I think that would be an answer probably.
Perfect. Nice. I'm so grateful that we are able to make this happen, and so much of learnings I had today personally. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Okay.